Hey guys, this is KinoDVT here, and I'm bringing you a new kind of replay. This is a LOL replay. Now, the replay is given to me by a program called LOL Recorder, and it's very useful if you're trying to do LOL replays, or it basically gives you a replay function without impacting on your frame rate very much. So if you want to go back and look over what you were doing or stuff like that, it's a really good tool. And it's a bit like the StarCraft replay function, except it's a third-party thing. The link will be in the description below. So I have bought the new champion. His name is Rumble. I'm currently using his piratey skin. My masteries are... Right, okay. So I'm just going to slow it down here for a second and try to explain stuff for people who don't know. So this is a LOL game, basically. LOL and all that. No, it's not a LOL game, it's a Dota game. So LOL is a derivative of Dota. Same genre kind of thing. You got push and tug, you got 3 towers, an inhibitor. Once the inhibitor goes down, it spawns super minions. Super minions are tougher, harder to kill. If you kill all 3 inhibitors, you can spawn 2 super minions at the same time. You have to kill the tower in front before you can take on the next tower and the next tower, and if you have to have 1 inhibitor down before you can attack these towers or the Nexus. First team to kill Nexus wins. So yeah, that's a basic overview of the game. For anyone who doesn't know it or play it, I'll probably put a referral link down below. If you click on that link, it'll let you boot up and create an account and download the game. It's fairly small. It's completely free, so that's a lot of fun. So my runes. Runes is an out-of-game system that allows you to get small advantages. If we look at my character, my marks at the time of this game were spell penetration. So you can see that sitting at 11 when normally that would be 0. So that's kind of what runes do. It's a small advantage, but every little bit helps. The cooldown reduction is cooldown reduction per level glyphs. So there's 3 types of runes, no, 4 types of runes. There's glyphs, seals, quintessences, and marks. Marks, it's kind of hard to explain, but for anyone who's played LOL, they'll get it. So I'm running Magic Pen marks. I am level 30, so I do have access to level 3 runes. I don't have any seals running because the only full set of seals I actually have is mana regen per level thing, which is pretty useless on him, so I think I chucked on like a health 1, an armor 1, an AP per level 1, and just randoms that I had lying around so that I could try and get full seals, because I have no good runes for him. Cooldown reduction per level glyphs, so that gets me down by about 16 when I'm level 18 in game, so that's pretty cool. And Magic Pen quintessences. I was only running 1 Magic Pen quintessence in this game, and then 2 flat health regen. 2 flat health regen quintessences. It was giving me about 5 extra health regen per 5 from the get-go, which was kind of nice. My masteries, which are kind of like skill points, like your skill tree in WoW, was 9, 21, 0, 21 being defense, 9 being offense, 0 being utility. I went for 3 ability power, 1 critical strike, 4 cooldown Magic Pen, and I can't remember exactly what I did in the 21, but you can probably figure it out. It's not particularly hard to guess. I went for increase in health and those kind of stuff. Alright, so before combat starts, so this video is going to be a summary about Rumble, the new champion. He's a lot of fun. This was actually the first ever game I played with him. I'm lucky enough to be laning with my brother DevTug, so I did know what was going to be going on with him, and that it removed some of the unpredictability from the equation. So I knew what he was going to play, and given that Rumble's a bit of a tanky kind of melee mage, think a bit Morty. Mord and him are very, very similar. So him playing Severe worked out fairly well. So you got 4 abilities on this guy. You've got his Flame Spitter, which is just a cone of damage per second. It deals half damage to minions, or is it? Yeah, just half damage to minions, not double damage to champions. His W is kind of like a shield. Well, it is a shield. It increases your movement speed for 15 to 25% depending on level for 1 second. So it's not much, but it gives you an advantage and it shields you for a bit. And you've got his E, which is Electro Harpoon. This is a skill shot which you get to fire twice, and is a lot of fun. It's awesome. So it slows them down by 15%. I think that stacks up to 35 or 25 at level 5. I can't exactly remember, but it stacks on itself. So when you fire it once, you get to fire it again for free in the next 3 seconds. So if you hit someone twice, that's 30%. So you can get a lot of support out of this guy by slowing champions, and it means it makes them harder to run away from, and you can kind of kite and all that jazz. Now his ulti, which is the real important one, is his... It's kind of odd. So it's got this massive range, like here-ish, and then like you click, and whichever way you then point your mouse, it'll go from there to there. So I could ulti from here to here, because on the outer edge of the circle you can drag and drop, and it drops a line of bombs dealing damage on hit, and then staying there for 5 seconds dealing damage over time while it's happening, and slowing all enemies within it by 35%. So it's pretty impressive. I mean, it's a fairly cool ability. Now I'm running Flash and Ignite, Flash just being Flash and Ignite being dots, reducing and healing. Again, this is for anyone who's kind of new to LoL or doesn't know about LoL or that kind of stuff. I'm building straight into a Haunting Guise, and so getting an Amplifying Tomb and a Health Pot. I skilled Electro Harpoon first, and that's going to be the skill that I get to 5 at 9. So again, he can play a very supportive role, and you'll get to see how it works. The enemy team consists of a Karthus, a Severe, a Singed, a Rumble, and a Blanc. My team is a Munu, Lux, Caitlyn, Severe, and Rumble. So there is a Severe and Rumble on both teams. We do see Karthus and Caitlyn duking it out on mid, which to be honest is fairly standard. I'm not a big fan of Karthus. He can be played very kill-stealy. I don't know why I've gone AF. That's right. I changed the graphic settings down to very, very low, so that's why everyone's lagging a bit. So I'm now back in the fight. So here's something interesting. The other Rumble has skilled his Q first, his cone of damage thing. So I find that a bit interesting. Obviously I can't see his build. I would like to, but it's an interesting choice. I'll put it that way. Now Rumble's mana system is heat. Now whenever you're above 50 heat, all your abilities gain stuff. His ulti doesn't, so just basic abilities. His W gives you more movement speed, more shield. His E deals more damage and more slow. His Q just deals more damage. So that's when you're above 50 heat. And each ability costs 20 heat except for his ulti, which costs nothing. Now, whenever you're not using the ability, you lose 10 or 5 heat per second. I can't exactly remember, but you lose it pretty quickly. Now, here's the catch. When you reach 100 heat, you get this almost massive increase in standard damage. It's magical damage, so it's damage. You hit them and you're doing your physical damage, and you've got a magic damage on top, a bit like a Madrid's, and it increases with your magic, your ability power. So that's quite interesting. So the really good Rumbles will be the ones who get their heat above 50 and keep it there, and then activate their last ability to get it from 50 to 100 when they need that extra little bit of damage. Because if you can get that extra little bit of damage down perfectly, you can annihilate, because it adds like 60 or 80 melee damage towards the end of the game, and it's kind of evil. So as you can see, we're kind of being outlaned at the moment, this Rumble being quite a lot tankier than me with his doggone shield. Singed, doggone shield, so a bit annoying. Severe should be able to keep him at bay with her Q being a bit evil, also her bounces, so nothing particularly special happening. We do see a gank and stuff happening, but to be honest, I'm just going to focus on me, because this is like a summary review advice video on Rumble. So I've skilled my Electro Harpoon twice, and now you can see it's slowing by 20%, so totally I can slow them by 40% and then activate my Q because I can. So I'm coming around here, gonna get a gank on the other Rumble. He is a level above me, but it should go well. I mean, he's ridiculously low. I'm coming out at exactly the right time. 1E, he's slowed, finishing off with your Q. Now, a nice thing about your Q is it has almost no cooldown. Like, relative to the amount of time you're having to use it, which is 3 seconds, it has a cooldown of like 4.7 by default. So it really doesn't have that much cooldown. And here we see Singed, I really don't know, being a little bit cheeky, and I'm pretty sure we're able to get him between the two of us. I did buy 6 pots when I went back. I didn't quite have enough for what I wanted, so I was just like, I'm not leaving lane forever. Important thing to note is that Karthus is not... What? Okay, Karthus is level 2. So we're outlaning them now. I mean, Severe, who is nothing to do with us, has died twice. Singed has 1 kill, which is on DevTug, and I've killed Rumble. So it's interesting. Now Rumble is gonna try and come in for a gank, and you'll notice I'm above 50 heat. Now here's the important thing. I will activate my abilities and get to a full overload, and as you can see, I've slowed him down, and now my melee is just able to tear him to bits. So that's one of those scenarios where it's perfect timing to get the overheat. Now, as you can see, Karthus did ulti me and take me out, but I was able to take out Singed, and Rumble got away on not very much. Rumble got away on 50. So it really wouldn't have been that out of the question for me to get a double kill then. But I didn't. I just managed to take out Singed, and then Karthus killed me. Most of my deaths in this game do actually come from Karthus and him just finishing me off with his ulti, so that's interesting. So I've now bought my health crystal, so I'm building towards my haunting guys. Now, my build plan, because whenever I go into a game, I try to have a plan of the build I'm going to do, is a haunting guys, then magic pen boots, sorcerer's shoes, then a crystal scepter, then a sunfire cape, and then a death cap. So my theory behind this is you can push people into negative magic resist, and with my default magic pen, which is 11 plus the 15% from masteries, and the 40 I'll get from the 2 items, should take down most people's magic resist. Like, Severe would be on minus 14, giving me increased damage. Now, between those 2 items, I'm also getting a not insignificant amount of AP. I mean, it's small, like, it's not something a mage would live off, but it's fine. I mean, between the Crystal Scepter and the Haunting Guys, I'm getting 105 AP, so that's pretty good. And that's giving me enough bonus damage on all my abilities that I'm killing them, and then the Raji's Crystal Scepter is just giving me more ability power and is just filling out the gaps. So the other thing is that'll make my Q slow, my E slow, and my ulti slow more, which is rather nice. Now, as you can see, we're taking out Rumble quite effectively. We didn't actually manage to kill him. I probably should have turned around and hit him. Oh no, wait. Jeremy did get him. That was the first ulti I'd ever put down as this guy, and to be honest, it wasn't the best. In fact, it was probably the worst ulti I've ever put down. Again, it's because of the weirdness of the way it works. it's a little confusing the first time you do it. You have to click, drag around, and then release. So it's like no other LOL ulti around, and that made things interesting. So if you want to know my skilling order, it's E, Q, E, W, E, R, E, Q, E. Yeah, so that's my skilling order. It's not exactly precise, but that's pretty damn close to what it is. Basically, Electro Harpoon, 5 as quickly as possible, and as you can see, Karthus ulting me, but Jeremy out to take him down fairly effectively. And we do see Rumble turret diving, and DevTug dying to his ignite, so not the best scenario, but there's been worse. So again, interesting champion. His ulti is a little odd, but it's very powerful. Like, the sheer difference in where you can put it mean it's amazing for a team fight, because if there's a team fight, no matter where they are, you will be able to hit them if you're good at placing it, because it's just, you can place it anywhere and it slows them down, which is good for your team, especially on someone running away. It does dots if they're standing in it, and not insignificant dots, and it does a fair amount of damage upon landing. So at level 1 you're going to be hitting them for at least 150 damage just then, and then for the next 5 seconds you're dealing 120 per second while slowing them down for 35 if they're in it. So it's a fairly powerful ulti, and you did see me get a better placement there and pretty much eat Singed to bits. Singed. Pardon me, I really don't know how it's pronounced. I'm kind of dyslexic, so not exactly my best suit. But we will move on and you try to deal with what you have, right? So, as you can see, I'm now building into my magic pen boots. So, I currently have 20 magic penetration, and this is plus the spell penetration I have passively. He's on about 10 every time I'm hitting him, so we're not dealing an insignificant amount of damage. Now, I am able to get one of them, I believe, if not both of them. No, just one of them, and he doesn't get away on much, so you can see that he's very powerful. Rumble is not a weak champion. Some champions on release have been weak and a little odd. He is extremely powerful. You can use his abilities to deal a large amount of damage very, very quickly, and he is very, very like Maud. If you get fed early, you will start to rape face. His ulti, like the sheer amount of I can place it anywhere and just nuke the shit out of anything, you're not nice. You can just tear people to bits. It's really not cool. I mean, you place it anywhere you like within a circle like here, and then you get to decide what angle it's on. I love it. It gives you so much freedom of control, and one of the things I like. Okay, so I can. So here it is. So you press R, you get this massive circle. You click, and then wherever you go, that's where it's going to be placed. So, for instance, I can do this. I can do that from there. Kinda evil. So, his E, you can see that it doesn't have an amazing range, but it's got a fairly good range. His W doesn't have a range, and his Q is just kind of, it's this cone of fire. It's kind of hard to see on very low graphics, but it is there. So that wasn't exactly the best engagement, and it didn't really go well for us, but they're not on an unlow amount of health, and I am able to whittle them down a little more. Now, here's the other thing about Rumble. You need to be careful about overheating, because if you overheat in the wrong scenario, you are then silenced for 8 seconds, and that's really not a good thing. Sorry, not 8 seconds, I think it's 6. Whatever, you can be silenced for the... Check out this death animation. So I just got... Yeah, there I am. That's me. You get... Basically, when you get to 100, you can't cast anymore for 6 seconds. One of the things I do think they need to fix is you can still cast Electro Harpoon if you have... Electro Harpoon, if you cast it once and then overheat, you can then cast it again. So I do think they need to fix that, because that means he can still cast while silenced. So they kind of need to work on that, because the ability officially has no cost. Now, one of the things you'll notice about E, his Electro Harpoon, is he does actually need to go and face in that direction, so it does have a cast time. His Q is pretty much instantaneous, as is his W, but his R is, he does sit there and the little cannons on his back with the skin, or rockets, I believe, with the default skin, do fire off, as you can see right there happening. That's another thing which they kind of need to fix. No matter which team you are, when you fire off his ulti, it appears as a green circle, so they kind of need to differentiate between good and bad Rumble ultis. I mean, as you just saw, we had crossing ultis here, and it didn't really go well. So I'm trying to get away. Jeremy and the other Severe were just doing a bit of a duke out there, and he did manage to win and then get killed by his teammates. So we do see that Singe likes being a bit cheeky. He's kind of pushing me a little too much. I mean, I'm around a tower and I'm not on like 100 health, so he wouldn't really be able to do very much. And all it would take is for me to land 1 or 2 E's on him, and he's not going anywhere. So I've now got my magic pen boots. So I now have 51 spell penetration. So on someone like Singed, I'm going to be taking him down to negative with all my spells, which then increases the amount of damage they deal. The other thing is, the less magic resist or any type of resist you have, the more you're getting from it. I mean, from what is it? From 0 to 34, which is what he's at, he's getting 25. From 0 to 100, you're getting 50%. From 0 to 200, you're getting like 70. From 0 to 300, you're getting like 75. At 400, you're getting like 80. So the further you go on, you need more and more and more to do the same thing. So if you're dealing with squishy carries, then a little bit of magic pen can go a long way. Like, I'm getting, even if I get him down to 0, that's 25% increased damage on my spells. So that's pretty cool. Now, we're gonna see me get a double kill here, I think. I mean, at the moment I'm 5-4-2, so I'm not doing amazingly, but I'm doing pretty well. I've now got Electro Harpoon at 5. This is my first game, so I'm still trying to learn about the placements and stuff and what I should be doing. To be honest, I'm not that good at placements yet. His ulti is a bit odd. His E is a pretty standard skill shot, but I still wasn't quite landing the hits I should have been, and I am now, this being about 24 hours after this game was played. As you can see, that really wasn't particularly good on my part, especially considering my W was available, and me and DevTug both were a little too aggressive around that turret, and we both died because of it. So, not really the best play we've ever done. So, yeah. His abilities are a bit odd. He's very powerful. He's a bit mage tanky. He's got some support in him because his E slows, his R slows. Like, he can keep their entire team very. He can apply crowd control, basically, is a nice way to put it. I mean, with Crystal Scepter, his Q is amazing for applying slows and whatnot, because you can just press Q and then everything in front of you is getting slowed by 15%. And I mean, if we pause it just for a second, your Q has about this kind of range, maybe a little more, so it's not insignificant amount of range that you get from it, and you can deal quite a lot of damage with a Crystal Scepter. I would almost say Crystal Scepters are a must with Rumble. The item I am, of course, talking about is this one, Regalia's Crystal Scepter. Dealing spell damage slows the target's movement speed for 35% for 1.5 seconds, and it's 15% for area of effect spells. So his ulti is getting an extra 15%, his Q is getting 15%, and my E is getting an additional 35%. I don't know how slows stack up onto each other, so that's something else. Another thing I don't actually know is how the 15% spell penetration works and the 51. I don't know which is applied first. As you can see, I do kind of rip Mr. Karthus to shreds. I'm going to see if I can turn the sound down a bit, because it's going to be a bit over me in the video, I think. But as you can see, I just tore through Karthus with a fair amount of ease. Karthus does have 34 magic resist, so I'm able to take him down to 0 and then just kick his ass. Worst case scenario, he's taking me down to about 20 magic resist if he's got full magic pen runes. So I'm quite happy with that, and means I'm taking reduced damage from him. So I've now skilled my E to 5, which is dealing 175 plus 27 magic damage. So that's alright, and I get to fire 2 of them, which is nice. And that's only with 54 ability power, so his AP stacking on his Electro Harpoon is about half. His W is, again, about half, maybe 0.4. I only skill that once, and that's to gain that extra movement speed, and just 50 damage doesn't sound like much, but it's enough to make a difference in certain scenarios. Yeah, that's a little odd, I'm just saying. I mean, oh god, what have I done? So in LoL Recorder you can change the view a little bit. Still looks a bit odd, it's still not perfect. As you can see, I just took down Singed, and I just popped my overheat. Not the perfect time. I was actually going to get ready to cast on him, so again, I wasn't very good at popping my stuff like that at the right time. So that's the difference between the noob rumbles and the really good rumbles. The really good rumbles are going to watch that heat like a hawk and know exactly when they need to pop their shit and know exactly when they need to overheat for that extra damage. Like, they'll be the ones who do sit exactly on the 50 mark for as long as possible to get that extra 30% out of his 3 default spells. That's going to be the main difference between the really good and the alright rumbles, is who can maintain that heat rather nicely. You can think of it a bit similar to I can't remember what his name is, the crocodile dude, Renekton, that's the one. Renekton's, I can't remember what it's called, Fury, I think it's called. Renekton's Fury, you can think of it similarly to that. Except it doesn't cost anything to cast your spells, it actually costs you heat to cast spells. I really like these new set of mechanics they're adding in with the newer champions. That being the ones with energy, the ones with heat, the ones with fury, those kind of things. It adds a new kind of level to the game, and I really like it. I'll be interested to see what the next champion is. From what I've observed of Riot Games, they seem to fluctuate between releasing magic damage champions and releasing physical damage champions. I mean, they released Swain, LeBlanc, Lux, and some others all in the same time period, and then they went like not Xin Zhao, then they went Jarvan, Lee Sin, and a couple of others. So they do like doing a bit of mixing of the champions, so like 5 mages, like 3 or 4 mages, 3 or 4 physical, 3 or 4 mages, that kind of stuff. I think Caitlyn's going to end up getting a double here if she places down her Q. No, Severe appears to get away. It's not brilliant. We probably should have got her, but oh well. Worse things have happened. So, this point in my build, I'm about to get my Crystal Scepter. So the theory behind this build is I want to be tanky, but I don't want to be full tank. If I want to play full tank, I'll play Shen or something. So I want to be tanky, but I don't want to be full tank. So I'm getting a Haunting Guise, which is kind of tank, kind of mage, because I'm getting ability power, spell pen, and health. I get spell pen boots, because I really want the spell pen. I then get a crystal scepter, which is very it's health. I get to slow them all down, which is very supporty, and he's already kind of doing that a little bit. Very supporty, and it gives me ability power, so that's really nice. And then I get a Sunfire, which gives me armor and health, which is tanky, and I like it. And then finally I get my Force of Nature. The theory behind the Force of Nature is, so my armor is reasonably high from... Now here's something I just want to highlight on. Sindri does something that I really like here. He's very cool-headed under pressure. If you notice, Sindri is kind of trapped. So he goes and runs into this tower and just stays there. Now, this is a very cool-headed thing to do, because as you'll notice, he dies and we don't get a kill. So he still dies, which was 95% going to happen if he tried to take on Lux. He still dies, but we don't get a kill for it. So that's very cool-headed. Now, that's something I've thought about doing before, but it's always like, oh, well, I should have done this. Like, it's always in hindsight. I've never actually gotten to the point where I think of it when it needs to happen, and he did. So props to him. That's a really good thing to do. Again, back to the fan. So at the point where you've got your Sunfire Cape, which is just tanky and armory and kind of nice, you've got about 120 armor. Now, I think I get like 2 armor from runes, so that's not particularly special. I think you're about to see me lay into Karthus fairly effectively. Karthus is not... The Karthus in this game is not particularly good. He ends up going like 5-14, I think. I can't exactly remember, so he's not the best player. Again, back to the fan and Sunfire Cape thing. So, after your Sunfire Cape, you're about 120 armor, which is giving you about 50% damage. So, on top of that, you're sitting on 54 magic resist. Now, I was debating whether to get a Warmog's armor for about 1.5k health, or to get a fan for health regen and that the amazing magic resist that you get. So I eventually went with fan, and that puts your magic resist and armor up at about 120, which is kind of nice. 120 magic resist and armor is giving you about 50% reduced damage from both of them, which is really nice. That's just enough tanky that you can tank, and enough DPS that you can spank. So I can just tank and spank all on my own, to be honest. I never have gotten a death cap with him yet. I haven't actually got to that point, but 118 ability power on him seems to be quite satisfactory. He gets like an extra 59 damage on most things. 59 on the equalizer, 29 on the dots, 59 on the electro harpoon, 47 extra, and 59 on your flame spitter. I'd like to try him like full mage at some point, just be like, I've got 1000 AP, so my abilities are hitting like a brick. But maybe not, or I'd like to try him full tank and not quite as much thing. So, you know, just fiddle around. I mean, one of the things I play Maud every now and then, and I just play him with magic pen boots, and everything else I just go full tank. I go Warmogs, magic pen boots, fan, then another Warmogs or a Sunfire Cape, and then depending on what's needed, sometimes I get like, oh, what is it called? Arius of Legion to help my team out. Like, it's very situational what I build. Like, I've built 3 Warmogs, a fan, magic pen boots, and a Sunfire Cape on him, and that works. Like, it's very situational what I do with Maud, but he's kind of evil, so you can think of them as similar, but one of the big things about Maud is his ulti allows him to get that rather massive increase in damage. Like, if he captures a say severe, he just gets a lot of increase in damage, and if he catches their, say, like Lux, who's on 1400 ability power or something, then he gets a lot as well. So that is one of the advantages of Maud, and one of the reasons why he's so powerful. But you can play this guy pretty much similar, so I decided to play him down the line between Tanky and Spanky, and it seemed to work rather well. I mean, I was getting a reasonable amount of kills, I was getting enough assists, and I was dying a bit, but I was getting more kills than I was dying, so that was the thing I deemed more important. I mean, Caitlyn on our team has gone 19-2-7, so she's kind of raping face. I really approved of her early build. She went like Dorgon's Blade, Boots, Dorgon's Blade, into Bloodthirster. One of the builds I've tried out with Caitlyn recently, which worked really well, was I went 5 blade and attack speed boots. With the armor pen runes I was running at the time, I was able to get 5 kills or something before I went back. Then when I went back, I sold one of my blades, got a BF sword, sold another one of my blades, got a what's the other component to Affinity Edge, which isn't the crit strike one? I can't remember, but whatever it is, it was fairly cool. And that seemed to work, as we can see. So you open with your... So here's how I open with a fight. You open with your E, and then you open with your E again, which I did. Then you open with your Q, W, and R if needed. This allows you to have your E up in the middle of a fight, and then you can keep cycling through your abilities. Now, I probably didn't need the ulti, but I managed to get away with him dealing like 1200 damage and me killing him. So I was pretty pleased with that fight. I mean, opening with your E is important, especially versus ranged champions, because then they can't run away from you. His Q with Crystal Scepter is as important. Now, as you'll notice with my Q, I am hitting all of these guys. But another thing with your Q is you need to be very conscious of where your front is, not where the animation of like your shaking and stuff is, because even though the flames waver a bit across, it's a very cone-like area. It's very stable cone out in front of you, and that's something you need to be aware of. Even though your animation, like, you'll see, you can see the flames waver a bit. No, they don't. The damage from the flames is perfectly straight. So that was a really good placement of the enemy ulti. My ulti comes in now. I believe I placed my ulti here, and that was a reasonably good placement of my ulti as well. I think so. So again, here comes the epic death animation. Wahoo! Wah! I'm about to pick up my Sunfire Cape, so I'm going to be pretty beefy. So as you can see the 123 armor from the Sunfire Cape. So my build is getting close-ish to done. I'm getting to the point where I can deal a fair amount of damage and tank, and that it's a fine line, but it's a line I like to walk with him. I kind of go into his build with the same mentality that I do with Aurelia. Aurelia, my general idea is, right, I want attack speed, and I want like 3 items that give me that, and 3 items which give me like tankiness. So you kind of walk the line between tank and DPS with this guy, or that's how I like to build him, and it seemed to work for me, so maybe it'll work for you. If you're a primarily physical champion dude, I wouldn't get him. If you're a mage person and you want something different, I would, because he's a lot of fun. He's not hard to play, but if you want to be really good with him, that's going to be hard. He's not easy to be very good with. I mean, his whole like energy component, if you want to be a master and just like abuse the hell out of that, that's going to be hard. That's going to be very hard. My opponent doing a fairly similar build, but he didn't get as fed, or nearly as fed as me, and I was able to get more kills, I was just able to level faster, get more kills, get more items, that kind of stuff. the main feeders on their team are kind of like Karthus and Severe. I don't kill Severe much, but I kill Karthus a lot. This Karthus has kind of got the mentality of all I need to do is die and cast my ulti to win, which can work, but there needs to be some feeding on the other side of that as well. Caitlyn is raping face, to be honest. 25-9, really not cool. I did just get my final level, so I'm now level 18. At level 18, he's pretty evil. His shield is like with heat, with 50% heat, you're absorbing like 550, 300 by default, which is kind of nice. Q, I mean, look at me, I mean, I tanked this tower fairly effectively, and then it's GG. So, in summary, guys, he's an interesting champion. I kind of like him, and I might release a few more videos like this. I'm gonna see what the community response is on this video first. This is KenoDVT signing off. If anything I said was wrong to do with the LoL mechanics, please give me a shout. I'm fairly good at LoL, but I'm not a LoL master. I don't know everything, and please hit that like up button because that helps me a lot. Rate, comment, remember to subscribe. If I got anything wrong, just please comment below, like tell me what I did wrong. The only way I can get better is if someone stands up and says, "You are wrong, sir, correct this." Like, they could be like, "Oh, you can't put champions in a negative meta list." Well, that's cool, good to know. That'll affect my builds in future. So if I actually did anything wrong and you guys, or what are your opinions on Rumble? Like, do you think he's OP? Like, I've seen a couple of games where he's gone like redonkulously powerful, but I think that comes down to information. Like, people don't know what his abilities really do, so they're not sure what to do about it. This is KenoDVT signing off. I hope you enjoy your future games, and I'll see you guys next time.